Plaintiff Faith Edmond met the defendant in elementary school, and she and her boyfriend recently moved in with the defendant. Faith claims after moving in, she saw the defendant's true colors, and she's suing her today for an illegal eviction and unreturned property. Defendant Gabrielle Harward says she didn't know much about Faith when she moved in with Gabrielle. And Gabrielle claims, had she known Faith was a stripper and her boyfriend had been to jail for stabbing a woman 8 times, she never would have let them move in. She's countersuing for unpaid rent and damages.
All rise. This court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Greg Mathis presiding. You may now be seated.
Start with you.
I've known Gabrielle since elementary school. My boyfriend and I, we moved in on June 7th, and that's when I saw the true colors of the spoiled princess.
Her property?
Say
You
that again?
moved into her property,
Yes.
obviously?
Yes, Your
And
Honor.
you said that's when you saw what? Her
The
true
colors. Everything in her life has been handed to her on a silver platter. I have worked hard my whole life.
I bought my own home at 21 years old. How is that having something handed to me?
Anyways, I worked hard my whole life. I've worked hard my whole pregnancy up until the due date. Every time we would go into the kitchen, anywhere, what are
She
you
didn't
guys?
work hard?
No, she just
All right.
sits around.
You've never had a job?
I worked for 2 years straight to save up so that I could have
So
a baby.
you didn't know about that job?
No.
How do you think I paid for a house at 21 years old?
She made a status and we both were pregnant with baby girls.
No, we're talking about her working.
Yes.
You said she never worked. She said she did.
Because she acts like the world revolves around her.
No, we're talking about whether she worked. She said she worked hard to get her house. You said she's had everything handed to her.
Yes.
And that's why I asked you,
Yes.
do you know whether she worked or not? You said she didn't. She said she worked
told
2
me-
years.
She told me she breeds her dogs, her pets.
So you do know that she worked then.
Not as hard as I've worked.
Did you go to school? Let's start there.
Yes.
Did you finish college?
No.
I'm in
No.
college, and I was working, and I already have a kid. Now I have 2. And you were working with no kids?
Let me hear from you. Congratulations on all your hard work. Tell me what happened here. You all were friends since elementary school.
Well, we were never friends. We just went to the same school.
Okay.
And we didn't talk until I had made a post looking for roommates. And I didn't know anything about her. We hadn't talked in years. And I unknowingly made a mistake by allowing her and her boyfriend into our home. I didn't know that she had been a stripper. I didn't know
Well, you
that her
did work
boyfriend...
hard. Strippers work
I
hard.
was
You're right. You
homeless. I
did
was
work hard
homeless.
enough. You ain't had to swing around no pole. You ain't had to pick no money off the floor. You didn't get your money $1 at a time. I'm with you. You did work harder than her. All right, now I understand. Go ahead. That's hard work.
Had I known the background that both of them had, I never would have offered for them to rent. I didn't know that her boyfriend had stabbed a girl 8 times and
You
served
say
10
he
years in jail.
stabbed somebody how many times?
8 times with a butcher's knife. I
he
obviously
serve-
would have never allowed that. I have a 3-year-old son at home. I had a daughter on the way. I didn't
I have
know.
a daughter. He doesn't hurt her. He doesn't hurt me.
It was, I mean, he stabbed an ex-girlfriend that broke up with him, and yet she went back to him. So
So he did stab someone close to him, his ex-girlfriend.
they dated for 4 months. She broke up with him, and he decided to go home, grab a butcher's knife, come back and
You don't know
stab
the
her.
story. Stop acting like you know him.
I hope that's not true, ma'am, because that's no laughing matter. She's making that stuff up, or you saying she doesn't know
That
the
was actually the
circumstances?
story
She's not
she
making
told
Hopefully
it
it
up.
was self-defense.
She doesn't know.
All right, let's get to why you're suing.
Okay. On July 23rd, we got in a domestic dispute and we left the house to keep the peace because we didn't want to bring it into their home. That night,
You
I
all
got
weren't
sent.
physically fighting, were you?
No, he.
Okay. Just
Anyways,
arguing.
I ended up in the hospital. That
See
night.
that
They did
fight with
physically
his
fight, though.
hands.
They left a hole in my wall. They ripped each other's clothes up. He ripped up her stuffed animals.
I'm
they
talking
threw
right
stuff.
now. No,
No, you're
talking.
lying right now.
No, I'm not.
Go ahead.
My mother-in-law heard him smack her from 2 bedrooms away.
And y'all did nothing about it. No one came in the room to try to help me. Anyways,
That happened the
you said
night
it
that
wasn't
things went
physical.
we
bad.
left the house because we didn't want to bring it into their home. We left. Anyways, that night while I was in the hospital, he put 3 staples in my head.
Why did you say it wasn't physical then? Go ahead.
Anyways, he went back that night and he grabbed all our possessions. I never knew this. He took everything except for my baby stuff. About 3 days later, I went to the house and I wasn't allowed in. She illegally evicted me. I've never been allowed back inside the house. Here,
Even
North
though I have-
Change the locks or something?
I have messages
North
of her saying
Carolina-
she's not even.
Hold on,
North
man.
Carolina states right here that it's illegal to change the locks and you have to give a 30-day written notice before you evict somebody.
Thank you.
I have
That's
the
the
breakdown.
law in the overwhelming number of states. You can't just come up and change the locks without notice or a court order. But go ahead.
I have the breakdown of all the items that I left.
Let's see.
And I
It
have
better only
her
be
in a
baby stuff.
message. And I have her in a message trying to sell me back my own personal property.
I'd known the background that both of them had. I never would have offered for them to rent. I didn't know that her boyfriend had stabbed a girl 8 times and
You
served
say
10
he
years in jail.
stabbed somebody how many times?
8 times with a butcher's knife.
Plaintiff Faith Edmond is suing her former roommate, who claims had she known Faith was a stripper and her boyfriend had been to jail for stabbing a woman 8 times, she never would have allowed them to move into her home.
Let me hear your side, ma'am.
Well, before she moved in, we were having a problem with our other roommate before them. She also didn't pay us rent, and she had to leave her stuff until she paid us the rent
That's
that she
illegal.
owed us.
Let her finish. Ma'am, I know, counselor, you quoting the law and you brought your law today. Go ahead.
And to avoid that same situation, when they moved in, we already had that agreement. They knew all of Channing's stuff was in there. She couldn't have her stuff until she paid us rent, and that was the agreement we came to with them. I have voicemails of them both admitting that they already knew that. I also have a witness statement from Channing saying exactly how it worked with her.
Let me hear your voicemail.
Hey girl, sorry if you're in class. I didn't mean to bother you or get you in trouble. But I don't know if you know, and I just wanted to tell you that Channing is here, getting all his stuff. If she owes you money, I'll try to stall her and keep her here as long as we can. I'll try to call you again.
Hey, Gabby. Hey, Alex. It's Will. Listen, it's been a really rough day. I come home and I find out that no one is letting Faith get her belongings. You guys have proof of me putting stuff in the car? That's fine. That's okay. In the bedroom right now, in that one dresser, there's clothes, and you know that. And then in the baby room, if Alex is going to lie about it, I never even went in there because I was just trying to get me and her belongings. I got me and her belongings because I knew after a situation like that, you guys were going to pull the whole Channing thing.
And the Channing thing he's referring to is that agreement that we
but
already
it's
had.
illegal. You can't hold someone's personal
I didn't hold it. We
property
agreed
and
upon
you
it.
can't
Did you
sell
make that
back
agreement?
No, there's no written rental agreement. There's nothing.
What is
Verbal
the Channing
agreements.
agreement?
I
she's
don't know.
referring to?
Her roommate's dumb. She's
When Channing
holding
paid
all
us
her
back, she got all of her
ex-roommates-
belongings, but it was per the
And
agreement.
they agreed you can hold my stuff back if I don't pay the rent.
Yes.
So they didn't expect to pay you either. And you didn't expect.
I
or
feel
you
like
were
it
just
was-
suspicious.
I feel it was all a setup from the beginning because when we asked them for July's rent at the
And this
beginning of the
agreement
month,
was a setup in addition to being illegal.
how is
Set
it
these
illegal
people-
if they
It
agreed
is
to it?
illegal by law. That's how it's illegal. Have a good day. Judgment for the plaintiff. You cannot take anybody's property because they have not paid you. Certainly you can't change the locks on anyone's home because they haven't paid you. It's called going to court, getting a court order, getting a judgment first, serving them with a 30-day notice under the law. That's not just North Carolina law. 30 days notice. After the 30 days expire, you still have to go and get the judge to sign off on it. Judgment for the plaintiff, your claim is dismissed. Have a good day.
She's a cold, heartless trying to hold a baby's stuff hostage.
I worked for my home and I have a baby too, and she owes us rent. I don't know why that's any less heartless than her trying to
You
get
can't
something for
hold
her
someone's personal belongings in place of rent. That's illegal.
baby. Not if you agree to it.
Where's the written agreement? We never signed anything.